Conor McGregor expects Michael Chandler fight will be made soon. Personally, I think it'll be on UFC 289, which is the Canada card, or it'll be the card after UFC 290 International Fight Week at UFC 291. The main events, Michael Chandler versus Conor McGregor, and that'll most likely be, how long would UFC 291 be? That'll be July, August of 2023, March, April, May, June, July, August. That gives 5 months for Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler to prepare, whether if they give it on June 10th, UFC 289 on the Canadian card, that'll only give them March, April, May, June. 3 months to prepare. So I don't know what the UFC is planning on doing, fighting and making the main event of a Canadian card at UFC 289, or just making them wait till UFC 291, or maybe I'm completely wrong and they're going to put them for UFC 290 in the T-Mobile Arena on International Fight Week, not main eventing, but not even co-main eventing, but just being on the card. I don't think that happens, though. And I think it'll be on UFC 291 or UFC 289. But the more pressing issue is not what card will Conor McGregor fight on, because I'm still kind of trying to wrap my head around what card could that actually be, because he's saying the fight could be made soon. Soon kind of means around like 3 months, 2 months, something like that. I wouldn't really think he's going to wait 5 whole months for the fight to happen, but it is a possibility. But this is more pressing. The 6-month thing. That's referencing USADA, saying he's not worried about USADA. What USADA said is that all I need is 2 clean tests, and off I go. Which means he's not even back in the USADA testing pool. As of right now, March 16, 2022, he's not even in USADA right now. And the man is saying, all I need is to clear my system of all the roids, get 2 good clean tests, and off I go to get a fight scheduled with Michael freaking Chandler. I mean, guys, that's a little bit suspect. We got Aaron Bronstetter here. USADA has issued a statement regarding the comments made by Conor McGregor yesterday in regards to his eligibility to resume competition. It says, while we meet with all athletes who enter or re-enter the testing pool, we do not currently have a meeting set with Conor. And as of today, we have not received notice of him coming out of retirement to compete. USADA doesn't think he's coming out of retirement to compete, so they're not testing him. The UFC rules are clear that in addition to 2 negative tests, an athlete must make themselves available for testing for 6 months before returning to competition. This is a fair way to ensure an athlete does not use the retirement status to gain an unfair advantage by using prohibited substances during their retirement period, which would enhance their performance unfairly if they ultimately decide to return to competition. While the rules permit the UFC to make an exception to the 6-month rule in exceptional circumstances, when the strict application of the rule would be manifestly unfair to the athlete, our position, which we have made clear, is that Conor should be in the testing pool for the full 6-month period. Something doesn't really add up a little bit there, you know? Something does not add up. Because he's talking about the fight being scheduled relatively soon. And like I've been saying, I was potentially saying, because he's saying the fight's going to be scheduled very, very soon, I was thinking UFC 289. That's obviously not going to be the case, because he has to wait the full 6 months. UFC 291 even is not going to be 6 months of being in the USADA testing pool. So that wouldn't even work. So you got to push this man back to UFC 292 or UFC 293 when he still isn't even in the USADA testing pool. And that's only if USADA actually makes him wait the full 6 months, which what it's sounding like saying from Conor McGregor is that the UFC isn't even going to make him wait the full 6 months. And they might give him one of those, what was it saying? What was Aaron Bronstetter saying? They might give him one of the exceptions to the 6-month rule to say, well, you're good to compete. We'll schedule you for UFC 290, 291, whatever the case may be. Whatever. It's perfectly fine. No consequences. You could just make 2 good tests. You're good. You're back in there. Michael Chandler, main event of a pay-per-view. Boom. Done. End of story. It is crazy, man. It is crazy. So what that essentially says is that, yes, he could wait the full 6 months and be back August, September time period for UFC 282 or 292, 293. Or the UFC might just go and say, well, the Ultimate Fighter contestants need to fight soon. And we need McGregor to be on the card that these Ultimate Fighter fighters are going to be on. So, we're going to make an exception and make Conor McGregor only have to be good for a month. That's crazy. That is crazy. What do y'all think about this? Conor McGregor versus USADA. Put your thoughts down below. When will McGregor-Michael Chandler actually happen? I still don't know what card. Because all of these USADA rules, him needing to have 2 tests for 6 months, and the fact that they can exempt them, I have no idea what card McGregor's going to be on. So put your thoughts down below on this interesting circumstance. Jon Jones and Stipe Miocic. There was actually some rumors coming around that this fight was not going to happen. Jon Jones said that Stipe Miocic was dodging him all of 2022, and that's why they ended up having the Ciryl Gane-Jon Jones fight at UFC 285. Then, Jon Jones said that he heard Stipe might not even come through to fight at UFC 290 on International Fight Week. Here is the tweet that we have from Jon Jones. Yo, Stipe Miocic, only you, the UFC, and I know the truth. You dodged me all 2022, July, September, and December. Now I'm hearing rumors that we may not be fighting this July. Bro, it's simple. Either you believe in yourself or you don't. Either you want a challenge or you don't. Stop wasting everyone's time. But we got another post. And Stipe Miocic, oh my gosh, luckily replies with "see you in July." We also had Damon Martin say 100% Stipe is going to be fighting. A little bit of a scare there, not a little bit, a huge scare. As I thought for a second Stipe's pulling out again, and he's not going to fight Jon Jones at UFC 290, but good thing. Stipe replies, "see you in July." He is ready to go for UFC 290. I mean, if you were on Instagram and you saw, or you on Twitter and you saw this tweet, you probably pissed your pants a little bit like I did, but luckily that's not the case. Put your thoughts down below. Who wins, Jones or Stipe? Jamahal Hill and Jiri Prochazka in the UFC's lightweight division. I am ecstatic because if this all comes to fruition, oh my gosh, what a banger of a card this would be. UFC 290, Jamahal Hill, Jiri Prochazka, either the co-main events or not even the co-main event. He was asked about what his dream International Fight Week card would look like, and he put him versus Jiri Prochazka, champion versus former champion, as the co-main event of UFC 290. Jones Stipe as the main event, him versus Jiri co-main, Volkanovski, Yair Rodriguez on the card as well, Strickland Costa, and Paddy versus Dober. Obviously, Paddy Dober is not going to happen, but Costa Strickland could. Volkanovski versus Yair is being worked on right now, and Stipe and Jon Jones is very likely to happen on that card as well. Jamahal Hill also wants in with Jiri Prochazka as the co-main events. What do y'all think about this? I personally would love to have this stacked of a UFC pay-per-view, especially for International Fight Week. Jamahal Hill, Jiri, let's look left to right. We got Jon Jones, GOAT, Stipe Miocic, heavyweight GOAT. Jamahal Hill, champion. Jiri Prochazka, former champion. Alexander Volkanovski, the best featherweight of all time. Notice I didn't say greatest, because it is still a little bit debatable. Yair Rodriguez, champion. Sean Strickland, top 10 middleweight. Paulo Costa, former title challenger. And then probably some other fight as well. That is so gosh dang stacked of a UFC pay-per-view. I want it. I know you want it. I know the world wants it. But what do y'all think? Does this all come to fruition? Again, not the Patty versus Dober, but do these other fights come to fruition? Put your thoughts down below. Is it too stacked of a card for the UFC to actually make? What do y'all think? I think there's a possibility. Not a super, super high one, probably like 15, 20%, that the fight actually comes together with those top 3 fights. All 3 title fights. More likely than not, I doubt it happens because that's just so gosh dang stacked of a UFC pay-per-view. What do y'all think about UFC 290's potential main card? Islam Makhachev is not going to be fighting really anytime soon. He's going to be having to wait till October 21st of 2023. It is March 16th. We got April, May, June, July, August, September, October. We have 7 months and 5 days until Islam Makhachev will come back and make his next fight inside the UFC. You know, there are good reasons for this. It's not like Islam wanted to take a break or anything, but we got Rafael Fiziev taking on Justin Gaethje at UFC 286. That's a possible contender for this Abu Dhabi card. And then we got Beneil Dariush. If Beneil Dariush wins, because if Oliveira wins, they'll probably give the title shot to Rafael Fiziev. If Beneil Dariush wins, they'll probably give it to Beneil Dariush. So, depending on all that, that's going to have to wait till UFC 289, I believe. That's when Beneil Dariush is going to be taking on Charles Oliveira on that fight card. I think it's headlined by, is that the one headlined by Henry Cejudo, Aljamain Sterling? I do believe it will be, but you have to think, if that UFC 289 card is in June, or not UFC 289, it was UFC 288, wasn't it? Sterling Cejudo is UFC 288, that's May 6th. That's still a while from now. April, May, that's 2 months from now, and that'll give either the winner, Beneil Dariush, or Rafael Fiziev, either 7 months to prepare for Rafael Fiziev, or 5 months to prepare for Beneil Dariush, whereas if Islam was supposed to be fighting in August, or June, or July, that wouldn't really give enough time to Beneil Dariush, potentially, if he's able to win against Charles Oliveira on that pay-per-view. So it does make sense that the UFC is making him wait till October 21st, Abu Dhabi, and it's going to be the main event. It's very obvious that it's going to be the main event, and Etihad Arena, UFC 294. I mean, UFC 284 just happened, which was also headlined by Islam Makhachev. Now we're going 10 pay-per-views later because he has to wait for Beneil Dariush. But what do y'all think? Does he fight Beneil, Rafael Fiziev, Conor McGregor? You never know. You never know. Put your thoughts down below. Who does Islam fight at UFC 294? Conor McGregor tells Ariel Helwani on the MMA Hour that his fight with Michael Chandler will be at 170 pounds. And he might be in attendance. I think he will be. There's no way he's not going to be in attendance for Edwards versus Usman 3 on Saturday. He's going to be there, and he wants that title fight as well in the welterweight division. He's originally supposed to be coming to this card for his friend and teammate, Gunnar Nelson, who's also fighting on the main card of UFC 286. But now that McGregor's fighting Michael Chandler at 170 pounds... You know, there's a good possibility that Conor McGregor if he wins this fight with Michael Chandler, could be here with Edwards and Usman and want the winner of Kamaru Usman and Leon Edwards. I believe it'll be Usman, but you never do know with that dog Edwards and his finishing ability later on in the fight. McGregor does want the fight to be in Ireland, homecoming at Croke Park, which would be interesting. Obviously, McGregor would love to be in an Ireland main event or something like that, because he's been in Las Vegas over and over and over again as his main events inside the UFC. So a return back home to Ireland, main eventing the Ultimate Fighter finale with Ian Gary as the co-main and some other Irish and European prospects. Would be a solid card indeed. What do y'all think? Does McGregor get past Michael Chandler? What do y'all think about this being in the lightweight, or not being in the lightweight division, but being up at welterweight? Obviously, it's because McGregor got very big. He's probably not going to make lightweight, but put your thoughts down below. Conor McGregor is taking on Michael Chandler sometime later on this year in 2023 after the Ultimate Fighter is done. It's already done, but you gotta wait for the filming to be done, the editing, the posting, and then all those fighters to get ready for the Ultimate Fighter finale and all that mumbo jumbo. But then he's gonna be fighting Michael Chandler in the main events of a UFC fight night, a pay-per-view. We shall see for Conor McGregor. But Conor McGregor said Michael Chandler was not the original opponent that the UFC wanted as his opponent on the Ultimate Fighter in 2023. He said originally the plan was for McGregor, for the UFC, and for Nate Diaz that, well, Nate Diaz would actually be opposing Conor McGregor on the Ultimate Fighter 2023, and it was not going to be Michael Chandler. But as you know, Nate Diaz ended up fighting Tony Ferguson, and then he left the UFC on his own terms after his fight was over. And that was it. They scheduled Michael Chandler. But it was interesting that the UFC was trying to make a Nate Diaz, Conor McGregor Ultimate Fighter, because I'm going to be dead honest with you, that would have been absolutely amazing. I would have been the most hyped I probably would have ever been for the Ultimate Fighter if we got Conor versus Nate Diaz on the Ultimate Fighter. That would be nuts. The trilogy after the fight card, main event of a pay-per-view after the Ultimate Fighter, the trash talk, the back and forth, the throwing, the pranks. I mean, it would just be absolutely insane. But Michael Chandler, I guess we have to settle with that. It's still a banger of a fight in the welterweight division. But what do you think? Would you have rather Nate Diaz or Michael Chandler? I know I'd rather Nate Diaz, but put your thoughts down below. Conor McGregor would like the title shot if he's able to manage Michael Chandler after the Ultimate Fighter 2023. If he's able to beat Michael Chandler in a fight that is going to be contested in the 170-pound weight class, he says, well, why not give me the title shot? I'm going to be in attendance at UFC 286 watching for the winner of Kamaru Usman, Leon Edwards 3. Personally, I got Usman. I believe McGregor also has Kamaru Usman winning. I kind of want Leon Edwards to win, though. I'm going to be dead serious. I'd rather Leon Edwards win, because if Kamaru Usman wins, I think he probably dominates against Conor McGregor, just out wrestling him, clinching him, and things like that. Whereas a Leon Edwards fight, if Conor McGregor is able to win against Michael Chandler, and Leon Edwards is able to win against Kamaru Usman, and somehow they give Conor McGregor the title shot because he is that big of a name, I'd rather see Edwards versus McGregor main event in Ireland, in freaking the T-Mobile Arena. I don't really care where this fight will be held. That'll be an absolute banger of a striking match between Leon Rocky Edwards and Conor McGregor, with actually a pretty decent chance for McGregor to become triple freaking champ. That is absolutely insane. What do you guys think? McGregor wants the title shot after this. Does he get it? And does he win against Chandler? And what would you rather see? McGregor Usman or McGregor Leon Edwards? I'd rather see McGregor Leon Edwards. I think that's a very good fight. But put your thoughts about this one down below. Belal Muhammad, top 5 UFC welterweight up-and-comer, the most exciting fighter on the roster, the number 4 ranked welterweight in the world, has called out the number 2, Colby Covington, multiple times in the last few weeks, months, years, whatever the case may be, and time again, he just keeps on neglecting my boy Belal Muhammad. It has been a year since Colby has fought. He's 0-1 in street fights, is saying, and he's just not accepting any fights. Belal says he would like to fight Colby at UFC 286. Colby declined. I'm assuming Belal's probably going to try to call him out for UFC 288, 289, 290, and he's just going to continue to call him out. But Colby does not want the fight. He does not want to fight Belal Muhammad. He's ducking Belal, as Belal is saying. What do y'all think? Belal Muhammad versus Colby Covington. If Covington actually accepts this fight, who would win 5 rounds if it's a UFC Fight Night main event? And who wins if it's a 3-rounder on a UFC pay-per-view? Put your thoughts down below. Belal or Colby? I lean Colby by a decision, whether it's 5 or 3 rounds. Movsar Evolvev and Ilia Topuria was originally scheduled far long time ago in the featherweight division for a UFC Fight Night, just regular fight. One of the times, I believe it was a main event at one point as well, and now it is being rumored that possibly this fight could be scheduled for UFC 290 in International Fight Week, and I'm sad to say, even though this is such a banger of a fight between 2 high-level, undefeated guys in the UFC's featherweight division, we're not going to get it. Ilia Topuria, Movsar Evolvev, they're not going to fight. It doesn't even make sense for either of these guys to be fighting each other as of right now, given the UFC rankings, given the fact that they're both undefeated. Number 9 and number 10 does absolutely nothing. If they fight each other, one moves up, one moves down, they stay the same. I mean, there's really no point in making an Ilia Topuria Movsar Evolvev fight. I don't even want to see it. It'd be a banger of a fight, but I do not want to see it. Even when it was made at UFC 270 in Ngannou versus Gane, I really did not like the sound of it because it was 2 undefeated guys that were right next to each other in the rankings. So hopefully it doesn't happen. The rumors are being said and circulated around the internet that the fight will be happening, but like Alex Belhunin says right here, I've been told that it is false, and neither fighter has even been approached with this particular fight. So I guess we're not going to get it, but who do you think would have won had it happen? I lean Ilia Topuria, but it'd be a very close one. Put your thoughts down below. UFC Canada 289 on June 10th. The exact location, some people are saying Vancouver, some people are saying possibly Toronto. I'm thinking most likely Vancouver. And as of right now, we have 2 fights scheduled: Eric Anders and Marc-Andre Barriault, and Moran the Maverick and Jasmine at Jasudavicius. That's all this on Tapology. But if you want to check on what we just actually announced not too long ago, there was another fight that actually got announced for this card, and that was earlier today, not really too long ago, and that was, if we can find it, there it is, John Makdessi from Canada, kind of being sent as a lamb to the slaughter, taking on Guram Kutateladze. I'd assume maybe the main card, but possibly like a featured prelim or something like that. But that is UFC 289 as of right now. Going to be in Canada for the first Canadian card in a very long time, but as I said, the exact location is not confirmed as of right now. Who do you think headlines the main events, and where exactly do you think they'll hold the event? Put your thoughts down below for UFC 289 Canada. Drew Dober and my man Matt the Steamroller Frevola has been set for UFC 288 per MMA Ideas on Instagram. And this is a banger. This is pure violence in the UFC's lightweight division. And if you're looking at them rankings at 155 pounds, you got the 14th ranked Drew Dober, who just knocked out a guy that really doesn't get knocked out all too often. Bobby Green knocked out Rafael Alves, and the man knocked out Terrence McKinney. He did lose to Brad Riddell in a very, very close fight. Lost to the champ, Islam Makhachev, but the man has beaten almost everyone else inside the UFC that is pretty average, and he's beaten them in flying color fashion, KOing them, TKOing them, submitting them, only losing to like top 15, top 10, top 5, champion level type of guys. And now he's going to fight Matt the Steamroller Frevola. And I'm going to be dead serious. Matt Frevola ain't winning this fight. Drew Dober just beat, honestly, two guys that are a lot better than Matt Frevola. Bobby Green's a lot better than Matt Frevola. Terrence McKinney beat Matt Frevola in like less than 10 seconds. Nasrat Haqparast is around the level of Matt Frevola. A lot of these guys are a lot better than Matt Frevola. And he's beaten guys that are better than Matt Frevola. So what do you think my prediction is going to be? You already know. Come on, guys. If Terrence McKinney's knocking out Frevola that fast, Drew Dober's going to do the same. Drew Dober, TKO, round number 2 is going to be the early prediction, but I don't care. I don't care what happens. If Matt Frevola wins out, I don't care. All I predict for this fight, I don't even predict Drew Dober by second round TKO. I take it back. My prediction is violence. Violence, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be violence. Drew Dober, any fight you put this man in is going to be an all-out banger. Matt Frevola, he always puts on some very, very solid, exciting fights. Unless he wrestles, which he's not going to be able to wrestle against Drew Dober. That's not happening. But what do y'all think about Drew Dober? Matt Frevola in the lightweight division. Put your thoughts down below. John Makdessi and Guram Kutateladze has been in the works. It is not scheduled in 100% for sure for June 10th, UFC 289, which is going to be a Canadian card. Notice how John Makdessi is a Canadian. We got Jasmine Jasudavicius, Moran the Maverick on the card, and we got Eric Anders taking on Marc-Andre Barriault, also on the card. No news on if this fight is going to be on the main card or the prelims. We don't even know if it's actually going to be scheduled, because right now it's only in the works for this UFC pay-per-view. Now, for the prediction, we got a Canadian, John Makdessi, so if it goes to a decision, you never know with the judges, but I doubt it. Guram Kutateladze is just such a killer. His wrestling is absolutely amazing. His striking is even very, very legit as well. I do believe Guram Kutateladze goes out there and absolutely destroys John Makdessi in every facet of the game and wins a nice 30-27 unanimous decision. Possibly could get an early finish, but I think it goes all the way. What do y'all think? Guram versus the Canadian in Canada, John Makdessi. I got Guram. Put your predictions in the comments. Maheshate and Slava Borshchev sets for UFC Fight Night on May 20th, and that is a banger of a fight. If you do not know who these two guys are, it's not even on Tapology yet, but if you do not know who Maheshate is, the dude puts on banger fights every single time. His only loss was a competitive back-and-forth war with Rafa Garcia. He knocked out Steve Garcia in round number 1 as well. Slava Borshchev, crazy good kickboxing and Muay Thai. These are two high-level strikers in the UFC's lightweight division. Maheshate Hayishaer taking on Slava Borshchev. It's a banger in my opinion. I'm going to lean Slava Borshchev to get the decision win, but Maheshate's power is legit, and we haven't really gotten to see a lot of his offensive wrestling, but we know Slava's defensive wrestling isn't really there. Should be a good one. I expect fireworks in the lightweight division. What do y'all think about this fight? Who wins? And is there a finish with two explosive guys like this? It is very possible. Put your thoughts down below. Marc-Andre Barriault taking on Eric Anders in the middleweight division at UFC Canada 289. Obviously, Marc-Andre Barriault is from Canada, coming off a solid win on Julian Marquez in round number 2. He's beating a lot of solid guys. Dolce, Abu Azaitar, Jordan Wright, okay, they're not really that solid of guys, but he's only losing to pretty legit guys. Krzysztof Jotko, former top 10 fighter in the middleweight division, Junior Park, Chidi Njokuani, and Anthony Hernandez. It's going to be a good fight, a veteran that's been in a main event inside the UFC, a little bit older, but actually coming off a win, knocking out Kyle Dawkins in his last fight. Should be a fun one. I do lean Marc-Andre Barriault to go out there and get the decision. I don't think he's going to get the finish. It should be a close one, 29-28. Pretty solid fight in the middleweight division. Marc-Andre with the win. Tapology is also leaning Mark by a slim margin. Put your thoughts down below.